So many of us are seeking a deeper understanding of the physical and unseen world around us, while trying to connect and understand ourselves. Seeking enlightenment, understanding of the paranormal, holistic options, whole body healing, the metaphysical, and finding a personal connection to a higher consciousness. Together, we will journey and seek understanding of our own soul's fulfillment and that which lies beyond the veil. If you found yourself here, trust this is the next step in your spiritual journey. Welcome to Soul Flight.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Soul Flight. I'm really excited to have you here today. We have a great guest, but before I tell you all about our guest, I wanted to read you a postcard from Spirit. As you know, if you've watched the show, I usually pick a postcard from Spirit, ask Spirit what they think you need to know, and I like starting the show off that way. It says, "Dearest you, there is only one you, and you have a unique path and a special purpose. You're supposed to have specific experiences in this world and meet certain people, but then it is up to you how you live, how awake you choose to be, and how willing you are to grow and strip away what's false. Don't compare yourself to others. It's easy to think a person is happier just because their outside looks good according to society's standards. But you can't know anyone's internal experiences. Compare yourself only to your past self. See how far you've come. Don't be distracted by what others are doing or accomplishing. Stay focused on what inspires you. That's how you get successful and find happiness. Want what you have now, not what someone else has. We love you immensely and know your journey ahead is sparkling with miracles and wondrous things. Trust. Loving you forever and ever." Hi, Rez. Thank you for tuning in. So I hope that message found who needed to hear it. And I think it is a really good reminder. I just had a conversation with somebody, about consumerism and just how caught up in society and needing things that we really don't need and relying on those things to make us happy. So it's a good reminder just to kind of reflect, see where you are at, see what really resonates with you and what makes you happy. So today's guest, and I hope everybody is going to be involved in conversations, pop in. That is why we are here. We want to educate. Today's guest is an amazing person. I am lucky enough to call him my friend. He is one of the owners of Soul in Synergy and Metapara Promotions. Maybe some of you know him. Please help me welcome Terry Flick to the show. Hi, Terry.
Hey, Steph.
How are you?
We're good. We finally are off our 3-week run of shows, and we got 3 weeks before we go to our next one. So
a little bit of a break.
A little bit of a break. Time to catch up on other things.
And for people who might not be familiar with you, when you're talking about getting back from your breaks, can you tell everybody a little bit about what you do and where you're traveling? And
Sure. You can, of course, find us at soulandsynergyec.com and metaparapromotions.com as well. Those are our two websites. What we do is we promote psychic paranormal wellness events. So, and we travel, Minnesota, Wisconsin, looking at Illinois and Iowa.
Oh yeah, you're everywhere.
We have on our website, we have a footprint of where we've been and where we want to go. So people can see that. But we also, I started out doing Reiki. So we also have a brick and mortar store here in Eau Claire, and I see clients here in Eau Claire. I do Reiki healings and clearings and whatever Spirit decides it wants me to do that day. So.
Yes. Spirit likes to just kind of throw things in. And I like how you bring up Reiki, because I think that is kind of the gateway for so many people. It really seems to be a spiritual foundation, I guess, that draws people in.
I truly believe that the connection that I got by learning Reiki and going all the way through to Master is the energy that I use in everything else I do.
Right.
So, and we do call it the gateway to whatever modality you want to go to.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Well, and I
really
think it's an easy thing for people to step into Reiki and not, because as well as I do, the more you are in this field, the more complex the ideologies become and some of those things. And I feel like Reiki is really one of those foundations where you don't have to have your feet all the way in yet to be able to understand the energy and be able to rationalize that in a mentality.
absolutely, it is the easiest modality to learn. Um, it's probably one of the cheapest classes you'll take for a long-term modality, right? So, but it is taking a class, being attuned, and then doing practice and learning how to do it. And you get to do that all in one day. So, you know.
And what was I'm curious, because I can look back at my first go round, I guess, with Reiki, which was at the very first holistic event. I wasn't even like thinking about coming out of the closet. Like I wasn't even, nothing. And I had gone to one up in Ashland, and I had a Reiki session there. And at first I was kind of like, oh, this is whatever. But the next day it really was life changing. Did you have a similar experience that made you go, oh?
So interestingly enough, I had never had a Reiki session
Wow.
prior to, a true Reiki session. So when I met Danny, he started taking me to the events,
Okay.
to different wellness fairs and stuff, and we had met Christina here in Eau Claire, and
Yes.
then we traveled to Stevens Point to see her again, and that's where I met Diet. And then they were um, they were here in Eau Claire, so we went to that one, and met, and Diet was there, so we went up to see her and stuff, and I'm standing there talking to Diet and Kathy Drinkman,
Yes.
who ended up being my master, is doing Reiki on. It was at the Moose Club, so there's a little stage, and she was up on the stage doing
Okay.
Reiki. She's working along, just doing her thing, and her head turns and stares at me, and I'm like, "Diet,
Uh-oh.
what's going
Right.
on here?" So for me, that was my maybe I'll check
Right.
this out. And so I tried to book a session online with her, and it wouldn't work. And so
Right.
I said, well, I'll call. And this is before I knew all the spirit stuff, like,
Oh,
the push,
absolutely.
all the pulses and all the stuff that they do. And she answered the phone, and I told her where I'd met her and stuff, and and I'm really interested in this. And she said, well, I'm teaching Saturday.
Oh, I love it.
And I said, I'll
Yeah.
be there.
Right.
So for those of you who don't know, I was a school bus driver for 26 years.
Yeah.
So we did everything on our breaks. So Thanksgiving break, I took one. Christmas break, I took two. Mastered out in spring break.
Yeah. I like that. And I like how you talk about too, because we kind of talked about it before we even came into the show, just how spirit works, and you kind of just learn to go with the flow. And I was, like I said to you, I was kind of set up to do the show one way, and then spirit's like, no, let's rearrange. And I'm like, we got 10 minutes, like we got to figure this out. What do you mean rearrange? But it works out. It's learning to
It does.
trust. And sometimes I think there's, at least I know, I still get frustration in some of my communications with spirit, where I still am like the petulant child, where I just don't want to listen. Do you think that ever goes away? Like, ever?
No,
No.
no, because I think some of that is our ego. And,
Yeah.
it's as much as we don't want it, we're still going to have it. And we just have to learn to work with it. So, yeah, I still get frustrated, and I still get the 2x4 every once in a while because I'm not listening or not paying attention,
Right.
and you know what that means.
Oh
The
gosh,
more
yeah.
the more you don't listen, the harder it is, and the harder the consequences become. So
And
yeah.
I had read something, and I was actually life coach, and I was reading something that they had written, and they were talking about how when we maybe go through something, but we are not at a place to kind of affect that change, right? So we just kind of go through it. We don't deal with it, or we don't confront it. But how those issues come back in, and maybe they come back in with your child, or they come back in with your spouse, but those lessons repeat. And I feel like that really, what you're saying about spirit, they really hone in on, hey, you need to listen. This is something you need to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah, because it is, and as readers,
Right.
I mean, I was 50 when I got into this
Yeah.
full bore, right? When my awakening happened and all this stuff. And but as a readers, like me and Danny's had this conversation several times. Like, I think part of that reading was actually for me as well
Yes.
as the person we're reading for.
Yeah.
So they bring it around in all sorts of ways. Or I can remember um, being at the store and working with a customer and getting this weird feeling, like a deja vu almost.
Right.
And the face turned, like, almost turned into somebody else's, like, hey, here we
Yeah.
are. And then it just went away, and I'm like, well, okay, that was totally weird.
Right.
But
Right.
it made me go back and made me think again. Oh, I got
Yeah.
to finish that, or I haven't visited that yet, or yeah.
Right. And it's I think people are just really too quick to dismiss like those coincidences, or those random thoughts that kind of come into their head that, like you said, connect and make you go, oh, I need to go back and look at this, or this is something that maybe I set aside that I need to look at now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm finding what's interesting is, and you know how very uncomfortable I was with all of this, especially when we first met. And
Right. Yeah.
I'm back in school and doing classes, and we have to do like these discussion posts, and it's a health class, and so they're talking about meditation, and I'm like, more really, spirit, like, this is school. And because I'm horrible at meditating, like, let's just be honest. But there was a conversation, and a peer in there had commented about the loss of their wife, and something that had happened that reminded me, or what I would take as a visit. And so I'm just like, blah, blah, and then I'm like, 4 years ago, I didn't never publicly wrote that kind of response, of like, hey, no, I believe you. You're not crazy. Like, I get it. But it's just funny how those things keep coming around full circle.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is. It's, you say coincidence, but there's no coincidence.
Right.
It is just how it's supposed to be. And one of the big things I teach in classes is learning how to allow.
Oh, that's so hard.
It is, and trying not to control things. I mean, there's some things that we have to, or at least we feel like we have to control. But like,
Right.
the story I talked to you about my 3D printer. It's like,
Yes.
I just put it out there, and look at 4 days later, somebody showed up with it. So
Right.
it's like, it saved me hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
So
And having that trust, though, like putting it out there. And I don't think people realize how self-limiting their words or their negative self-talk is. Like,
oh,
it reverberates out into the world.
yeah, it over and over and over again. And try, don't, can't, all those words don't
Yes.
belong to your vocabulary. It's like, even if you do it, I say to my students, even if you do it a little bit, you're still doing it.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
it's not like you have to accomplish it all in one set down or anything.
No. Do you think, and I'm thinking about the negative self-talk that we have. And sometimes I think, there's all different reasons. Are we carrying something over from a past life? What are we supposed to confront? And more, I have seen, and I'm wondering if it's because now I'm just more open, or if this is becoming more of a trend, that people seem to be more open to the possibilities than maybe a few years ago.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're in a cycle that people are becoming more open to, let's per se, the metaphysical,
Right.
whether it be portions of it or the whole gamut, because it encompasses a lot.
It
But,
does.
we're talking, um, I had a client last night, and she has a grandson that is without going into it, is going through a lot
Yes.
of issues and stuff.
Sure.
And we've talked for, I see her every month, and we've, for 6 months now, he's threatened to hang himself and do this and do that and all the thing. And she holds it so tight,
Absolutely.
like she's going to control his outcome.
Right.
And we talk, and and I understand that, and you're going to be there for him. I get all that.
Right.
The part of it is it's tearing you apart, and
Yes.
physically it is hurting her.
Oh, I can
Um,
imagine.
so, like 2 months ago, we talked about his journey and what it means that it's his journey and not
Yeah.
your journey. And we went through all those things, and it kind of helped her to release some stuff. And so she come in last night, and we were talking about it again, and she goes, "You know what my daughter did?" She goes, "Oh, by the way, I share everything with her." I'm like, "Oh boy."
I love it. Yeah.
And so the daughter, or the mother of the son that's having the issues, she called me on the phone one day, and she said, "Mom, I get it. This is not my journey, it's his."
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it
And that's
helps.
hard.
It
It
is
does.
very,
It does.
just, you mean to have security cameras up, and just all the things that to make sure you're physically safe yourself
Yes.
from your son or from a person you love.
Yes. And
Mm.
when we think about, and I just wrote a blog about this, what we actually can control. Control is really a facade. There is not a lot of control. And we do, as being on this plane and having a very physical mindset. We plan things and we look out, and because we think we're guaranteed, and we live for maybe this moment or for this weekend, and we set expectations of how we think things are supposed to look, and then when it doesn't meet that criteria, then there's that stress or that letdown, and that frustration. But
Mm-hmm.
that's not natural. We look at nature just flows. There's not the stress. It just flows. And that's how we're supposed to be. At least that was my thought.
Yeah. And there, you look at, like a zebra
You're right.
being chased by a lion, and when it gets away and the adrenaline is settling down or whatever, it shakes, it vibrates,
Yes.
it
Right.
releases all that whatever,
Yeah.
um, and goes on with its day and starts eating grass again.
Right.
There is a modality that teaches people how to do that, by the way.
What is it? Tell me about this.
I can't tell you now.
I love
But I
it.
can remember. I remember in my first office, when I was first started doing Reiki. The lady that shared the office space with me was actually walked me through it one time, and I'm going to tell you that was 9 years ago. So
Right.
I don't remember how it was all called, but there is a modality out there that teaches people how to do that release.
Interesting. I'm going to do some research on that because, like I said, that had just come up this week, and it really made me think, like, we're really not living in any way that we're meant to live.
No.
Not fully. I mean, we try, some of us try, but not fully.
Yeah, well, not for our optimum health,
Right. No.
And
Gosh, no.
so you'd look at, um, we get older and we don't take care of ourselves in the young part of our life, and all the stuff, and then it comes back and haunts us in our older part of our life, but we're still not understanding.
Right.
We're not getting it.
No.
And, I have so many food allergies.
Yeah.
And not seasonal allergies, but food allergies.
Right.
Like it's crazy.
Do you think it's because it's not real food anymore? I mean, it's really
I
not
think
food.
it probably is.
Yeah.
And if it's processed, it affects me. If it's, I am so gluten free and dairy free and
Yeah.
everything free that, Danny's like, what do I buy?
Right. Yeah, I could imagine. I'd be like, you cook for you, I'm gonna cook for me. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I thought, and I remember we were out to lunch, the three of us, the one time, and you had made that comment because I was like, oh, every time I eat, my nose runs. And you're like, that's a sign of a food allergy. And I've
Yeah.
really paid attention to that. And it's interesting where I've tracked, oh, I ate this meal and I didn't have a runny nose, but now I added in this and this is what's going on. So it's, but we don't pay attention to our bodies.
Right. We don't, I mean, and yeah. And, some of it could be, as you're raised from childhood and, some, the ones that this is what you had to eat and you didn't have much of a choice. So you're just so used to all that kind of stuff that, maybe it's part of that or not, but, and then again, my 2x4 comes up because God darn it, Oreos are good.
They are. I can't lie. They're good. I get it.
Good,
I find if I don't buy the stuff and I don't keep it in my house, I'm okay. But if it's there, then I may as well just eat the whole container of Oreos.
Right. Yeah. Well, and being on the road when you start traveling, I mean, the restaurants are getting better, but it's still processed. It's still.
Oh, it is. Well, even, I mean, sporting events, I am constantly, at the ball field until this time, and it's quick meals. It's what can we grab? And I wish I could be Betty Crocker and have things really well prepped, but I'm not good at that. That's just not something I'm good at.
No. So, it is what it is, but, so. And I think some of that has to do with body trying to detox, doing as much Reiki as I do and raising my vibration or ascending or whatever you want to call it. I think the body is just really, oh, wait a minute. No, you're not supposed to be eating that. Let's start getting rid of it now.
Yeah, so. I would agree with that. It makes us kind of cycle through.
Yep.
For sure. So we do have to take a quick little break, but when we come back, I do want to talk about focusing on community, because what you have done in the last, really not a whole lot of time since you've been more in the metaphysical, you really have this beautiful community. And I think it's important for people to realize there's communities and resources that they can reach out to.
Absolutely.
All right. So we are going to take a quick little break.
Okay.
And we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, spirits, and the metaphysical? How about Mothman, Bigfoot, and other cryptids? What about UFOs, UAPs, and other anomalous phenomenon? Then you need to check out Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. We have all that and more. Watch our series, Caps Road Trip, where we travel across the U.S. in search of these phenomena and bring you not only the history of these locations, events, and encounters, but evidence that we capture along the way. Alongside our team of researchers and investigators, you never know who will be joining in on the investigations. Are you interested in Bigfoot in Upper Michigan? Check out Finding Heighton, a series documenting the Sasquatch activity on a very special 80-acre property just outside of Menominee that has been a hotspot since 2012. Are you looking for something to listen to on your morning commute, road trip, or just hanging out? Head on over to our YouTube and check out one of our several podcasts hosted by members of the CAPS team. Topics and shows spanning everything from paranormal, UFOs, metaphysical, cryptids, and more. And if you're into spooky, Check out our mini-series, Spirits of Menominee, which documents the paranormal activity of downtown Menominee, Michigan, or Spirits of Macville, where we investigate one very active location. Head on over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button, and you won't miss a minute.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Soulflight. If you are just joining us, I am being joined by the amazing Terry Flick, one of the owners of Soul and Synergy and Metapara Promotions. And we kind of talked through the gamut of different topics, Reiki and things at the beginning of the show, but I had brought up, I really want to talk about community, because I think you have done a remarkable job and just created this vast community, which really is a safe haven, I think, for people who are kind of just getting their toes in or have questions. And a lot of times people don't know, where can I go? What resources are there? Who can I talk to?
Great.
And really, was it about 2016 when you kind of just started all this?
Yeah. 17, probably quicker,
Yeah.
closer. Was that right, Danny? January of 17? Yep. Yeah. Okay, there you go. So, yeah, and then, and it kind of, you talk about, let's just go community, right?
Yeah.
So, for us, it's always been about bringing people together.
Right.
We have a farm here, and we do fires out here, and I bring the students out. Sometimes we do burning ceremonies out here, all sorts of stuff. We can reach a few in Eau Claire.
Right.
But the reason we started doing the events was to bring a bigger community together.
Yeah.
So they're just like bah, 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 in my head.
Right.
So for us, anyways, I retired from driving a school bus after 26 years. I do this full time. This is what we do. I teach Reiki classes. This fall, I'll start my lineup of intuitive classes and, my dragon magic classes, and all those will start over again. So, but the shows themselves were designed to start bringing in positive energy and showing people what it feels like to feel good.
Right.
To be able to talk about whatever you want to talk about in a safe space.
Yeah. And,
when we have classes and stuff, I really try to bring the unique stuff in so people can relate a little better, or I'll talk to them while we're at, like, if I'm running the store part of the show, I'll interact with people, and I'll hand my business card and say, hey, email me, text me, whatever you want to do. If you have more questions, if anything else I can help with, if I'm doing readings or doing Reiki or doing whatever at the event, same scenario. I can remember how confusing it was when I first started out.
Oh gosh.
And I will not say that I got it all 100%.
Right.
But if I have enough resources and I know enough people, I can figure it out or find you someone that does.
Yes.
So in our store, we have a wall of business cards. And I keep everybody's business cards in there. I don't hand them out so much as I do just to have them so I can give them the information and stuff. But, because I don't want to run out. So, but it is. Community is big. Community. People feel that they have to do it on their own. That they'll figure it out.
Yes.
Or whatever, but they don't get all the pieces together.
No.
And once the pieces start lining up, once they come to an event and start talking, or they walk through the store and I'll let them, whatever, and I'll always say hello and how are you doing, anything I can help with right away, and they'll wander around and see all the the stones or the tarot decks or the
Right.
jewelry or all the herbs or whatever else we have in the store, and then I'll go back up to them and say, "What can I help you with?" And
Mm-hmm.
see where we're going with. I
Right.
am far from the one that will say I can teach you how to do pagan magic spells or witchcraft
Sure.
or anything like that. That is totally not my realm.
Right.
But do have supplies that
Right.
I've been told to carry in the store. So, but I have the books and I have all the stuff that go with it. So, but there is times when Spirit will say, "Hey, why don't you take them over here and show them
Right.
this?" And
Yes.
see if that resonates a little bit better,
Well, and I
So,
think it's interesting too. Like you said, spirit kind of will move them around, but how many times, and I've known it's happened to me. Somebody will sit down and they'll just start talking, and then they'll be like, "Well, I don't know if I should say anything. This is going to sound crazy." And it's like, try me. Like, let me tell
yeah,
you what crazy sounds like.
yeah,
Because it is very overwhelming. Like, who can you share these experiences with?
yeah, yeah, and it's very true. I mean, the things people talk about, like, I get people calling me and about house clearings and I do house
Right.
clearings. I don't have an issue with that, and I people are like, but doesn't that scare you? I'm like,
Right. No.
what's there to be scared of? I mean,
Right.
I do demonic clearing. I clear demonic energies off
Yeah.
people. I know I know my God, my creator, my
Right.
universe has my back.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And I am not worried about dealing with any of it. So,
No. And people ask me the same thing too. And eh, same thing, like I know my team who's
yeah,
walking into a scenario with me, and I have never felt unsafe in doing that. Um but I do, there are times though, like paranormal investigating, not where it freaks you out, but like you'll get like the goose pimples up your neck, and you have to really keep your train of thought honed in on where it needs to be
yeah,
versus letting it wander with whatever.
yeah, yeah. Because your mind can go down that rabbit hole really fast.
Right.
But, you know, in my head, it's like, hey, you're missing somebody, or hey, can you take
Right.
care of that?
Right.
It's a constant conversation. But I think, going back to the community, I think people need to have that outlet to be
Yes,
able to talk to people, and
they do.
you know, it helps. Whether they see me one time or they're back every week, or they
Right.
just come in to pick up um, a piece of turquoise or a piece of sodalite or whatever it is, and that's all they need. I don't
Right.
care. That's not what I'm
Right.
there for. You
No,
know.
I get that.
So
I get that. I like how, you network, because I think we both realize we are one very small piece of a very big puzzle.
oh
And we don't always resonate with everybody who walks through the door. And it's like, here, let me help you find what you need.
yeah,
You know, it's really that, and that's what I like about that community aspect too, is I really want to put somebody in a place where they're going to find somebody that resonates with them, and that can help them and hear them and see them in the way that they need that to happen.
yep. It is, and it is. And I'll be standing at the business card board, what do I want to call it, thinking I'm reaching for something else. All of a sudden, I can feel my hand dropping. It's like,
Right.
oh, okay, then
Right.
this is the one, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, it's crazy. I always say crazy good, because it always feels good. I mean, there's days we deal
Oh,
with crap, right?
everybody has days. Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
and some things that isn't so pleasant to work with people, but that's what we're here for.
Right. Right.
I
And
mean,
and if we are going to be true light workers, You
Yep.
have to sit in those dark rooms. You have to sit in that darkness with people because that's the only way to get them through to light. Does that make
Yep.
sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, there is darkness.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
There's darkness because without darkness we can't have light. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And I think if people would, oh, how do I want to say this without, if we would take a breath,
Yeah.
step back, get our fear factor in check, I
Right.
think they would be so much more successful. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about going and meditating on everything or anything like that. Just taking a break and taking a breath.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
you know, I'll go back to COVID.
Yeah.
Those 2 years of COVID, whatever, were the most profound years
Yeah.
that I think we've had,
Right.
you know?
Oh, they definitely, I remember having conversations with my husband where I'm like, this is how raising a family was supposed to be. In that time, my kids learned how to do laundry. They learned how to build things. They learned how to cook. There was
Yep.
that community, that network, maybe not as big, right? Because we couldn't all get together. But, and as I'm saying that, I'm also hearing spirit come in and go, but not everybody had that.
That's
Not
true.
everybody had that positive experience or that network to pull into. So maybe we were the
Right.
fortunate ones in that
Well,
aspect.
we continued on like this. We did
Right.
Zoom, and I
Yes.
was on Zoom probably 3 days a week. We were teaching classes or just having conversations with people on Zoom.
Yeah.
So, you know, I didn't. I will probably get some comments about this, but I think we totally locked down for 3 months of that time frame, right?
Right.
Like where we didn't see anybody, we didn't go anywhere with anybody, all that stuff, and
Right.
then I'm like, I need to go to the store.
Yeah.
I need to. So, you know, we didn't turn the open sign on. We didn't do
Right.
all the things, but I did unlock the door,
Yeah.
and somebody showed up. We let them in, and
Right.
we did safe stuff, and so to speak, and we were able to sit across and have community and
Yes.
talk, and you know, it's like I think it was 6 months in when we started doing sessions. I might even been closer than that. I started doing sessions again with masks and stuff, and you
Right.
know, but people needed it.
They did. They really did. And it's amazing. There are some great things, like you said, being able to connect technology wise and those growths, but technology doesn't take the place for community.
No,
People need that proximity. They need tangible.
yeah, yeah, and it made you go inside.
Yes. Oh gosh,
I mean,
so much self-reflection.
yeah, yep. Yep, and a lot of Gaia TV.
Yes.
we
Yes.
watched a lot of that. Got education. I did a lot of online classes. You know, I mean, I took a lot of online classes
Yeah.
during that period. So,
Do you think
but
COVID was kind of the shift in a change of the energy here?
yeah, yeah, I do. And when people, I even bring that up sometimes. I said, "Do you remember? Do you remember 2 years ago or 3 years ago when you couldn't leave the house?"
Right.
It's kind of like force yourself into that again.
Right.
And get back into who you are. But yeah, I think it was, you know, you can go down this big rabbit hole about COVID
Oh
and
gosh. Oh, anything. Yeah.
the reasons why it was here and all this and all that. But whatever it was, doesn't matter. The end
No,
result is what matters. And
it does.
having that connection with people, that community with people, that being able to go inside and not have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go drive a school bus and not have
Right.
to, you know, whatever the case may be. You know,
And when you talk about, yeah,
go ahead.
And when you talk about who you are, I think, like you could be like, Steph, who are you? And a lot of people just can rattle off. But I don't think people really connect with that underneath layer. Does that make sense? Like, how do you help people go from, hey, Terry, tell me who you are, to Terry, tell me who you are?
Who you
How do you
are,
help
yeah.
them get under there?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because I think I would describe myself on the basis of um, I'm loving, caring, bringing people together, brings warmth to my heart. Um, my those are my pros. My cons is I'm not the
Right.
best businessman because of my pros. Whatever, right?
Right.
So, I will do things because of my empathy,
Right.
which probably isn't the best thing for my business, for our
Right.
business, but it is that way. But deep down in, there's some fear, of course,
Yeah.
and there is this whole, we talk about self-worth and deserving
Right.
and imposter syndrome and all these things.
Oh, yeah.
I have a little bit of all that.
Right. And we all probably do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, we're constantly evolving.
Yes.
Even if I work on it this much, I'm still working on it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It is. So to lead someone down that path, right?
Yeah.
It, you have them start in a session. You would have them start talking about, at least this is how we've done it in the past, and then I'll go. But who are you?
Mm-hmm.
And let them dig a little bit deeper. But who
Right.
are you? I'm not saying who you truly are, but who are
Right.
you? Because it just helps people. We've done the. Um, I was working with this one lady. This was a few years back, and oh my gosh, 3.5 years now. And Spirit's like, make her do a timeline. I'm like,
Ooh.
well, I get a timeline. I understand what a timeline is, but can you explain what a timeline is to me so I can tell this correctly, right?
Right.
So truthfully, she went through, now we're talking a 30-something-year-old woman, right? And started at her age and went backwards every year and wrote something that she needed to release that she could remember, right?
Ooh.
Because we don't
Wow.
always
Right.
remember, all the way back as far as she could. And she said the further she got back, the easier it was,
Sure. That makes sense.
right? And
Yeah.
then what we did then, and we did this in 2 or 3 sessions, is we just sat on the Reiki table. I tuned in, I connected in, I put my hand in the middle of her back, and as she's reading and she's crying and she's releasing, I'm just allowing the energies to flow and help her do it.
Right. Right.
A year later, I run into her and she has switched jobs. She's so happy. She's lost weight.
Oh.
She's done
Yeah.
all these things. It can be something like that, you know.
Right.
So we just do what we're supposed to do, and it's like I truly did. I did take a stand back when they said do that, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah, that's an
okay.
interesting. I like that though, and even from the prospect of where I do the past life regression therapy, where I could
Mhm.
see that timeline being very beneficial for them to kind of walk through what things they need to address. Lisa says people so often identify as like what they do, right? As their identity. And she
Mhm.
says, I think it caused internal reflection, especially for those who used their work as an escape from looking internally. And I think that's a good point because I know people, well, who are you? Well, I'm a teacher, or I'm a bus driver, or I'm a cook.
Yeah, I agree. I think for the first, you know, my adult life up to 50 years old,
Yeah,
I didn't identify with anything except for um, a bus driver and
right.
working 60 hours a week because it was easier to hide at work than it was to deal with my stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and how many times, so you see that, or I've seen people who, especially people like in law enforcement, where maybe something happens and they're injured, or the military, and they can't do that anymore. And it's
Yeah.
like, who am I now?
That
Or
was their
even
identity.
becoming a parent, who am I
Yeah.
now? Once you have that empty nest syndrome, or,
Yeah, that's the part, right? Your kids all leave, and there
right.
you are with your husband.
Yeah, I know. Funny, I just had this conversation the other day at my house, and we were, my oldest child has gotten a vehicle. And so we were test driving their vehicle the other night, and driving around. And this song came on, by Lee Bryce. It's called Boy. And it just talks about growing up. But I just started sobbing. And I'm not a crier. I'm not an overly emotional. I'm usually pretty well in control of all that. And my husband looked at me and he goes, "Oh boy, we need to get you hobbies." Because it was just that rush. And he even
Hmm.
said to me the other night, he goes, "Well, what are we going to do in 6 years?" I'm like, "I guess we start dating each other again." Like, there's so much change, ebb and flow. And so it is interesting that you bring that up.
Yeah. Yeah. People, I mean, I can see why people identify with their jobs.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
jobs are profile, jobs are, I am a police officer. I hold
Right.
a rank,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I agree. I mean, I agree. Military, I get that. I mean,
Right.
they're doing a very important thing,
Right.
but it's not who they are.
No. No. And how many times for me, it seems more, I've lived on the East Coast, but maybe this is a Midwestern thing, but we'll run into somebody who, my husband's from here, so maybe he hasn't seen for a while. And it's not a, "Hey, how are you?" It's, "What are you doing now?" And that always seems to be the first question. What are you doing now? And
Yeah.
so do you think in some ways in community that we have lost really what we should be putting value in with other people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. What is important?
Right.
You know, um, we always say with spirit, you're not always going to get what you want.
Right.
You're going to get
Right.
what you need.
Yeah.
And, it is back to that basics again, right?
Yeah.
I need to eat. I need a
Yeah.
place to live. It'd be nice if I get a mansion, but I'm okay
Right.
with this house, you know,
Yeah. Right.
so whatever, and be comfortable with it and be okay with it and allow it just to be what it is.
Right. Allow it to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
And that's where so much stress comes from, because we fight against it.
yeah. And they got your back. I'm telling you,
Right.
they got your back. We just went through this uh, thing with our truck, and it's like, I put new brakes on my truck on the front end. It was, we got 65,000 miles on it. It was time to
Yeah.
rebuild the front brakes, and got all done with it. And I took off with it, and I could hear this little. I'm like, well, I ain't got time to deal with that now. We got to get to the
Right.
show. All these things are going on, and we get down into Rochester for the show, and it's going. And it's
Oh.
like, oh yeah. So we get back up to Eau Claire and take it back into the shop, and she said, they called and she said, "You're never going to believe this." And I'm like, "I pretty much believe a lot." And I get
Right.
it, but anyways, there's a ball joint that comes down into the steering control arm, and the nut was gone, and the keeper for the nut was gone, and the bolt that is 4 inches was stripped right out.
Wow.
So if we would have hit a big enough pothole,
Yeah. You'd had no
I don't
steering.
know, I had no steering, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, they fixed that, and as we're leaving, later on, I could still hear that noise. So I called back and I said, "The noise is still there." And she said, "I said, can I just come in and have your mechanic ride with me so they can see it and hear it from my perspective?"
Right.
So that's what we did, and we got back there, and he goes, "That's the dust cover for your brakes? Hold on a second." And he gets under there with a screwdriver, straightens it up a little bit. "You should be good now."
Wow. So it wasn't
And I'm
even
thinking,
that you were hearing.
no, but they
Right.
didn't fix the problem, the major problem. They didn't catch
Right.
that right in that thing. So spirit didn't let them finish the break thing right. At least this is how I'm
Right.
feeling about it. So it
Absolutely.
caused attention back to
Right. I mean,
the
because
main.
how catastrophic, thank God everybody was okay, but that could be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just how spirit works. It,
Yes.
if you're okay with allowing
Yeah.
and okay with flow, I mean,
Right.
because it's all about the flow, right?
It is.
You
It is.
know, the river is a most beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's the flow of a river, the flow of a creek.
I
Um,
love that.
watching the birds in the tree and fly across the
Yeah.
sky. It's all about how they're flowing across. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
We need to step back in that flow.
we do.
Yes.
We do.
So tell people, I have shared, your different websites, and I know you post a lot of your events on there, but let everybody know kind of where they can find you guys, what you have coming up.
Well, and this is not the businessman part of me, right? Because I
Right?
should have had all wrote down and promote myself like crazy, but that's not who I am, right?
No, I get
So,
that.
if you want to know what events we're doing, metaparapro.com
Yes.
is our website for all of our events, whether it be um, our wellness fairs, our Beyond the Veil expos, which are 2-day events,
Yeah, because you have so much that you offer.
and we promote other people's stuff. So
Yes.
you'll see on there that we are doing. Um, it's called Magical Discoveries Wichicon of the North. So it is Wichicon in Duluth, Minnesota,
Yes.
November 2nd and 3rd. So come join us up there. That is Reiki Magic's event, and we're
Yes.
promoting that for them. So we do other people's events as well, or help
I love it.
promote the events. Otherwise, you can see what kind of goodies we have in the store at soulandsynergyretail.com, and my website our website for our business original baby is Soul and Synergy EC, Eau Claire, EC.com.
Yes.
And that's where you can book a tarot session with Danny, or you can book a Reiki with me, or whatever the case may be. You can find us there. Or, email me at soulandsynergy@gmail.com and
Yeah,
find me
check
there.
it out. If you guys
Yeah.
are anywhere in the area of their events or their stores, check it out. You will not be sorry. I always find every time I come down there or I see you guys, I have to touch something and buy it every time. So I'm
Yeah.
telling you,
And
people,
now,
you won't be disappointed.
and now we didn't even touch base on dragons. So, there's a whole
No,
nother, right?
that is a
So,
whole nother story. Maybe
yeah.
we'll have to do another show just about dragons.
Yeah, that's cool.
And you have to get that dragon class online so people that live far away like
Oh, the
me can
Dragon
take
Magic
it.
class? Yeah.
Yes. That would be fun.
Uh-oh, you paused.
Oh, the spirit's like, oh, because it's almost time to go. We're just going to cut her right out of
Cut
here.
her right out, yeah.
She's
Yeah.
done. Well, thank you
Oh,
so much. Oh, yeah,
you
go
can
ahead.
also, we have a newsletter as well.
Oh,
So, and you can find that on our soulandsynergyec.com website. If you go to the bottom, you can sign up for the newsletter as well. So
perfect.
we send that out every week. So sometimes twice a week, knowing what's going
Oh,
on.
that's nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, check it out. There are definitely a lot of resources. So even if you're looking for something, you probably don't even know what you're looking for, talk to Danny or Terry. They can help you figure that out. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, Oh, Dragon Magic. Resneck said Dragon Magic would be an awesome class. See, now you have two people
Yeah.
that would take it.
Yeah, I
Me
think
and
we'll do it
Res.
online. I have to figure out the logistics of doing it online because I usually have props and stuff,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So, and handouts, but we'll figure it out.
Well, yeah. Spirit will work it out for you when the time is right.
Yep.
When the time is right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today,
Yeah.
my friend. It was so nice to see you and for coming in and talking to us. And
That was
I
my
just
pleasure.
appreciate having that resource and you guys being that resource for other people. So thank you for being that.
It's our pleasure.
All right. I will talk to you soon.
All right, dear.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today to Soulflight. I really hope that you were able to connect with maybe some things that you were looking for, maybe building on some resources and just getting answers, because that's important. Knowing where to go, knowing what networks are available, and just feeling it out. Sometimes it's a little scary when we're not sure what resources we need or where to go or where to have these conversations. And that's what I wanted to bring to you today. Tomorrow. So you guys probably remember about 2 weeks ago, I had to reschedule my show with Craig. He is coming on tomorrow morning. So come on tomorrow morning. We are going to be live at 8 to do that show. So 2 shows this week, a lot of fun. Grab your coffee, get comfy on your couch, and please join us as we go back into some of that conversation when Craig was on a couple months ago, just about what's going on in space, what's going on in the galaxy and the world around us. And I'm actually really interested in talking to Craig about what he thinks about, maybe you guys have seen it, the Harvard article. Are aliens among us? What do you think? Tune in tomorrow, see what Craig thinks, and join us for the conversation. As always, be well, be good to each other, really be gracious with yourself. And I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.